Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah, everyone else ready?
Have at it.
So,
Harder.
we're going to call to order the August 10th, 2022 Planning Commission. First call of order, approve agenda and minutes.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. New business. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Jamon Boesen, request for a conditional use permit for a one-unit bed and breakfast at 100 Temperance Road, zoned RC/R, Shoreland North Shore Management Zone, PID 20-131-1325, file reference number 2022-12 CUP.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant, Jamon Boesen, is requesting to have a one-unit bed and breakfast in the living space above the detached garage. Mr. Boesen lives at the property full-time, and the bed and breakfast would be open year-round. The application explains that development plans to support the proposed use include remodeling the space above the garage to include one bedroom, one bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room. A new well and septic will also be installed to service the living space. Additionally, Mr. Boyce's partner is a French-trained chef with degrees from Paris who will be providing breakfast and meals to guests. For zoning considerations, this property is located in the general commercial zone district, which is outlined under section 4.18 of the zoning ordinance. A bed and breakfast home is a listed conditional use under the general commercial zone district under section 4.18B and is defined as follows: an establishment in a residential dwelling that supplies temporary accommodations and a morning meal to overnight guests for a fee where an owner or manager resides on the premises. I have included in your packets the zoning ordinance criteria under section 10.01 and 10.05, which has to do with the conditions for conditional use permits to be reviewed upon, as well as section 10.08, which includes the bed and breakfast home standards. For the background, this parcel was created in 2017 as a part of an approved administrative subdivision. Surrounding land use appears to be well suited for a bed and breakfast accommodation due to the close proximity of the Gitchigami State Trail, Temperance River State Park, and Schroeder. The north and east property boundary abuts Temperance River State Park, and the south and west property boundaries are privately owned, being commercial and residential. For the septic, the applicant plans to install a new septic and well for the bed and breakfast unit. The lot is spacious and development is not immediately adjacent to the neighboring developments. Safe access does exist off Temperance Road, and there is adequate parking on space in place. For public noticing, the application was legally noticed in the Cook County News Herald on July 15th, 2022. 19 letters of notification were sent to adjacent property owners, as well as county departments, Minnesota Department of Health, and the Minnesota DNR hydrologist. We received no comments from adjoining property owners. This property appears to be well suited for the proposed use and is in the appropriate zone district with nearby attraction for visiting guests. My initial discussions with the applicant weighed whether this use was best described as vacation rental or bed and breakfast. Because the homeowner will be present during guest stays and the owners will be offering breakfast, a bed and breakfast permitting route was deemed most appropriate for this proposal. If approved, the following condition may be considered. Property shall comply with all county, state, and federal rules.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Would you like to step forward to the microphone and please state your name and address before?
Jamon Boesen, and it's 100 Temperance Road in Schroeder. Okay.
You have anything you'd like to add
I
to?
think she pretty much nailed it on the head. Everything that we discussed is what she stated. We looked at the different types of use, and my partner and I were interested in providing food, and breakfast was a great option for the two of us. I work remote for U.S. Bank, so I'm up here on the premises all the time. So it seemed to be a fitting use of the property.
Okay. Anyone on the board have any questions?
Not at this point.
Okay, you may sit back down. We might call you back up, though.
All right, sure.
Is there anyone from the public here that wishes to speak their opinion on this? And hearing no, we'll close this discussion to the public and open it to the board. We'll start on this end.
I've looked at it, and it looks like a really good idea. Got the well in, I don't have any problems with it.
I agree.
Jerry, you got any input?
I find it an excellent application, an excellent proposal, and I can find no fault with it at this point.
I feel similar opinion as the rest of the board members. Yeah, Charlie?
I guess maybe it's a question for Neva. The well and septic plans are stated in the considerations. Should we put them as a condition that must be met to, or is that redundant?
He's already got the well in.
They would
The
need
well
to-
is in.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chair, they would need to put in a septic system if they're gonna have pressurized plumbing in the garage. And in my opinion, this application is based on that.
Based
as
on, so
being a
we wouldn't
consideration.
need to add an additional condition
You
for
could
that.
add it in if you wanted to.
Okay.
He's already planning it.
And if no one else has anything to add, does anyone have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
So hearing that, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes. You're on to the commissioners next.
All right, great, thank you.
Yep. Okay, next, we got Susan Kiel and Ray Pederson, request for an interim use permit for small-scale vehicle and metal recycling in the FAR 3 zone district at 133 Devil Track Road, zoned FAR 3, Shoreland, PID 531054430, reference number 2022-2IUP.
Mr. Chair, the applicant is applying for an interim use permit to allow small-scale vehicle and metal recycling at 133 Devil Track Road. Mr. Pederson has described the proposed use as follows. He is contacted by members of the public to come and pick up used vehicles, and he drives out to pick up the vehicles and bring them onto his property. On site, he removes the gas tanks and catalytic converters, and then compresses the vehicle and loads it onto a trailer and hauls the metal to Duluth. He has explained that he only takes vehicles when the metal market makes the activity feasible and profitable, and that from pickup to drop off, it only takes about 3 days, therefore there is no accumulation of vehicles over time. In addition to used vehicles, he also collects various recycling scrap metals from signs and wiring. This use is proposed to take place seasonally from April through November from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday with no Sunday activity. There will be no component of this activity that is open to the public. Mr. Pederson brings materials on site and takes them off site. Additionally, there is no collection of junk vehicles since, as he explained to staff, he only collects junk vehicles when the scrap market makes it worthwhile endeavor. For zoning considerations, this property is located in the FAR 3 zone district, which is outlined under section 4.07 of the zoning ordinance, which states as follows. The principal purpose of the FAR 3 district is to provide for permanent and seasonal areas at medium density. Farming and other rural activities are also allowed. I've also included section 10.01 and 10.05, which are the criteria for to review an interim use permit application. I encourage you guys to review that tonight as reviewing this application. For background, the surrounding land use along the Devil Track Road corridor appears to have some non-residential use present. Immediately adjacent to this property is a long-standing active gravel pit operation. While staff was on site to review this application, noise from the gravel pit could easily be heard at the property. For site considerations, a new septic system was installed on this property in 2011 for a 3-bedroom house. The lot is well vegetated. There are wetlands nearby, but it does not appear that wetlands would be impacted as a result of the proposed activity. While on site, staff could hear noise from the nearby gravel pit on the north side of the property. This proposed use will likely generate noise. However, a condition could be placed that the property shall comply with Minnesota State Noise Pollution Control Rules outlined in Minnesota Rule 7030. For lighting, the proposed use would only occur during the hours of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If lighting will be needed, a condition could be set to require lighting to be downcast. For safe access exists off Double Track Road. And for other, the proximity of the proposed use to the neighboring property owner, whom is opposed to the request, appears to be no less than 150 feet. Note that the aerial photo below on page 3 of your staff narrative is from 2018, so additional clearing has taken place since it was taken. For public noticing, the application was legally noticed in the Cook County News Herald on July 15, 2022. 19 letters of notification were sent to adjacent property owners, as well as county departments, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, and the Minnesota DNR hydrologist. Land Services reached out to the MPCA directly to see if there were any comments regarding the various elements of this application. No comments were received. Public comments have been received by the comment deadline, includes 7 comments opposed to the request and 1 comment supportive of the request. The first comment is from Bernice and William Foster. They have no objection with the condition. They want all activity to follow land use requirements and proper disposal of all fluids and hazardous waste. They request inspections often to verify compliance. Item 2 from Carrie Berglund Rich was opposed to commercial business that causes noise, air, and potential water pollution. Item 3 from Jeff Nemitz is opposed, object to activity due to the previous disregard for compliance with rules. Also opposed to noise, air pollution, and potentially hazardous waste spills. Additional concerns to nearby Shoreland area and incompatibility with zone district. Item 4, Gary Blomberg and Janie Wagner, opposed to noise, business activity, and pollution concerns. Item 5, Kevin Selke, opposed, visited friends and family at Mr. Blomberg's property and experienced noise, smoke, and smell. Item 6, Liddy Pearson, opposed, visited friends and family at Mr. Blomberg's property and experienced noise, smoke, and smell. Item 7, Daryl Popkis, opposed to industrial activity in a residential area, noise, and pollution. And Callie Blomberg, opposed, object to noise, smoke, and business, concerned with property values and adverse effect to neighbors. Staff recommendation for consideration. The Planning Commission and County Board should review the criteria listed under section 10.05 to determine whether this proposed use is appropriate within this location. In issuing an interim use permit, the county commissioners may impose such conditions as deemed necessary to protect the public interest, including but not limited to matters relating to appearance, lighting, hours of operation, and performance characteristics. In reviewing this request, it is important to bear in mind that this review is for the proposed use. Incidental personal use of property may result in noise and yet may not meet the threshold exceeding Minnesota state noise standards. I have listed a set of potential considerations, conditions for you to look into.
Thank you. Is the applicant or anyone here to represent the applicant wish to come up? And please state your name and address.
Ray Pederson, Grand Ray, Minnesota, 55604.
Is there, would you like to add to?
Broadway. This is where I live.
Oh, yep. Would you like to add anything that wasn't stated?
No.
Does anyone on the board have any questions?
I think perhaps we should hear from if there are any others that would like to state.
Okay.
And then we could call you
Right,
back to ask questions.
I'm gonna come back and talk anyway. I just wanna let everybody get what they got to say.
Okay. Anyone from the public wish to come up and talk? We'll give you 5 minutes. And before you talk, state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Janie Wagner. I live at 125 Devil's Track Road, which is right to the left of his property. I wanted to invite you all to our property to walk the line to see where his property was adjacent to ours for one day and listen to what we have to listen to day in and day out. It's not a car crusher, it's a bang, bang, bang crusher. Every time he moves his vehicles back and forth, it's beep, beep, beep. And this is spend 7 days a week, at least 8 hours a day, every day. I'd be out in my greenhouse, which is the furthest part of our property away from him. It was so loud, I came in and I called Tim again and I said, Tim, we can't take this. It's so loud. And the smell of the smoke from his diesel is, we have to go inside. I'm an avid gardener. He likes to be outside. We have to go inside. We have to shut our windows because of the obnoxious smell that we smell all the time. It's terrible. And I could sit and tell you, left and right, the beep beep and the bang bang, but until you were in our shoes and you could have listened to what goes on every day, you're just gonna have to take my word for it that we wouldn't be here. We're all for getting rid of the garbage in Cook County, but not at this expense of we moved up there to get away from the town noise. And we have to listen to something worse than town noise. And it's, like I said, it's every day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wish to come up and speak?
Yeah, I would like to.
Please state your name and address first.
Gary Blomberg, 125 Devil's Track. I'm 150 feet away from his operation. And what he's doing, I do believe, is a very good thing, but not where it is right now. I go out on my deck to have coffee. When he starts up, it's blue. You gotta go back in, you gotta shut your windows. It's terrible. And it isn't where it's supposed to be. One of the operations are way up there, but there's another operation, I would say 150 feet at the most from my deck where I have coffee, maybe 125 feet. And this is the smoke that I have to do, and the banging and the whatever that goes on. Brrrr, whatever goes on. I mean, and there's another operation. It's a bunch of operations there. And I'm totally opposed. I built a house there 44 years ago. I've lived with two people next to me, the Nelsons and Warren LaPlante. I had a good relationship with them people all my life. They came to have coffee with me. I'd go to them. I'd mow their yard. It's completely went downhill since this operation has started. And I could go on, but I have no more to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
I was just wondering, do you receive our letters that we wrote?
Yes, we have them in here. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak?
I'm Jeff Nimitz. I live at 84 Devil Track Road, about a quarter mile away from the applicant's operation. I have a question for planning and zoning, actually. When I received the notice of this application or the variance request, I had an email discussion with Tim about getting more information. And he asked me if I got a copy of the application, and I did not. Is that normal that the notified neighbors get a copy of the application?
You would take that over?
You can go ahead, Tim, and answer that.
Okay, well, there's a couple different levels of public notice, Mr. Chair, and that is, once you do the initial public notice, applications aren't sent out. It's just a public notice that goes out. Letters are sent to the public for that. If anybody wants additional information, then they would contact our office and get that information. So it's not unilaterally just put out there as a part of public notice.
Okay. Well, I did ask for any additional information, and I mentioned that I never did get this, because he did mention it in the email. So I didn't see the actual application until This meeting was posted last Wednesday after the cutoff date for comments. So I'd like to comment on the application. On the first page, it says current use of the property, which is dated July 5th, and it says seasonal residence is checked and recreational use only. Is that what you guys see on yours? Well, this auto recycling business has been in full swing for a year already. As far as I know, there is no seasonal residence there. So it's basically just a business operation going on at this site. On page 2, it does say where will this operation be conducted, and it says on the back side of the property, and actually it's about halfway down the property, which is much closer to Gary and Janie's home. Page 3, will the proposed use have an adverse effect on adjacent properties? The applicant stated no. Well, it already does, because this operation's been ongoing for almost a year. The next question, will it impact water quality, air quality, or other shared resources? The applicant stated no. Well, it already does affect the neighbors' air quality and noise quality. Below that, they state that there is a working gravel pit right behind them, which is true, and 4 working companies within a quarter mile. They had a half written down and then scratched out and a quarter. Well, as far as I know, there's only one operation, and that's the gravel pit to the north. And both Gary and I know that there's a gravel pit operation up there. It's been going on ever since I bought my property 30 years ago and him 44 years ago. There is noise from that gravel pit operation. Mostly, there's a lot of trucks backing up most summer days, many summer days. There is some crushing and sorting operations that go on in the spring. It's relatively intermittent, but we both know that we've been living with it, and it's fine because, they were there first, and I'm assuming they have all the proper permits and stuff to conduct their operation. I personally am not affected that much by what Ray has been doing, but I'm here mostly on the behalf of my neighbors who have been severely affected by it. I guess that's all I have.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. The last thing I just wanted to say was, he was issued a cease and desist of all of this noise and work November 21st, 2021. It has continued past the cease and desist. It's still happening now. So he has no regard for the cease and desist.
Is there anyone else from the public? Should I call the applicant back up for questions?
We can direct questions to him anytime.
Okay, so close the public hearing then. Okay, so we're gonna close it to the public hearing, and now the discussions and the questions will be from the board.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I just wanted to share, I'm the commissioner that represents this district, and I've kept a log. July 13th of 2021 was the first complaint I received, and to date I've had 19 different complaints about noise, diesel odor, Sunday operations, things of that nature. And I did want to point out one of those, just one, but there was one that came from a person that was renting a vacation rental that's in the neighborhood. And somehow they sought me out and filed that complaint. So I just wanted to make you aware that for a long period of time, there have been complaints coming in.
Do you want me to answer those questions?
Yeah, we'll have questions for you in a,
Yeah, but do you want me to answer the complaints?
yeah, we'll ask you them in a minute here. So we're going to open this up to, or we'll close it to public, and then we'll ask you some questions. So we'll start on your end.
Well, I've been up there and I can see lots of problems, so I don't know how he's gonna solve them. That's all I can say.
My first question's for the applicant, I guess. I'm looking at the property map, and is there an option to move the operation further back to on the property?
But if I do, I'm going to work by his deck.
So that would be worse, okay. I'm trying to get a bearing on it, looking at the map, so. Okay, that was my question at the moment. I do have a question for Land Services. Has there been a cease and desist order issued at any point?
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Leboda, there was a cease and desist, and there is, it's currently in effect. And there's really a distinction, and it's a very difficult situation for everybody to be in, but the cease and desist is for the actual operation in and of itself, the land use category of it. It's not for noise. And so can somebody have private land, work on their heavy equipment, start it up, have smoke, have noise and such? Yes, we don't have cease and desists for just those broad categories. So noise can be made. Every time that I have actually gone up, I've not been able to confirm any violation of cease and desist. That's not to say that the neighbors hadn't seen any, but it's just to say whenever I've gotten up there, regardless of whether I'm called or I go up on my own, I've not. And one of the times that I was up there, I did request that each of the pieces of equipment would be started up while I was up there, and I've got a decibelometer, and at no times then were the sound or noise levels exceeded. But of course, the complaint is when they're putting the material in the trailers or something like that, the banging, there wasn't any of that going on. So all I was able to determine was the running of the machines. And so, yes, there is a cease and desist. It is not against noise, it is not against the smoke, it is against the specific operation of the car recycling, vehicle recycling on that. And I use this analogy, and I think I've done it a few times, and I just want to throw it out there again, we always have those distinctions between what level of use does it become necessary to get any kind of permits and such. So if somebody brought a vehicle into their yard and they took it apart by hand and put it piece by piece into a trailer that never made any noise, took it away, no harm, no foul. It's like having one car up at the end of your driveway for sale and you sell it and you don't put it back, that's fine. If you have 4 cars on the end of your driveway, even the state of Minnesota considers you to be a used car lot if you sell it and replace it and everything like that. So the issue is trying to determine what use is just incidental, personal use, and what becomes an interim permit level use as to what becomes maybe a prohibited use, commercial, straight up commercial activity on there. So we determined to use the section 10.03 as the ability to bring it in and have it reviewed by public hearing. And I will, sorry, I just throw in there that we have to evaluate the the permit, the granting of the permit or denial of the permit based off of the criteria that's in the ordinance. The fact of there being a cease and desist is actually not a criteria for approval or denial. It is actually part of the criteria for establishing conditions or something like that if there is some level of concern, because if there's a condition placed on it and that condition is violated, then the permit can be withdrawn. But just the very fact of itself, and that's by advice of our Minnesota County's Insurance Trust attorneys, that cannot be used as a level of criteria for granting or denying a permit. Just the criteria that's in the ordinance.
You did say you've been up there with your decibel
Yes.
meter.
Yes, I have.
Only with the machines running. I mean, I would imagine Mr. Pederson would be willing to do a demonstration of the crushing so we could get a reading of that. And that would help us quantify what that noise level really is.
And the thing is, you guys gotta realize, I haven't done no work up there since last October.
Okay.
None. Sure, I've been cleaning the property up, I've been knocking trees down. Every time I do that, he drives by like a complete raving lunatic, laying on his horn, laying rubber, everything else, and I haven't really got my wits end on
We'll
this.
let him request to speak. He's just starting to talk. Okay.
You want to respond to Charlie's question?
Well, I guess my question was, I mean, Ray, would you, whatever your noisiest thing, would you demonstrate that for the decibel meter if we requested it?
But it's just like with the garage on the lower part of it.
Mr.
I'm not
Chair,
shutting that garage down.
I have a question here, just maybe to get a little more into the heart of this. Have there been any sound pressure readings taken from the site? I mean, MPCA has some standards. I'm not sure how they might apply here, but I know that they do have noise restrictions. And given that this is not a commercial lot, but it is on the border of a commercial operation, I think that we have to take a more serious look at that and find out just how loud that is, whether it exceeds the MPCA standard.
And yes, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Henniker, yes, I did take readings on that with the decibelometer, and you do have different standards. The Minnesota Pollution Control Agency Rule 7030 has different standards for day and for night, and for different levels of resident versus commercial type of activity and zones. And it actually wasn't even close for the daytime use. I haven't been out there at night. I don't know that there's any activity going on at night. But the daytime sound levels were tens of decibels below what any maximum sound level would be.
Mr. Chair, Tim.
Yes.
That, it's not a full-scale check of that. It's only under certain specific conditions that you've taken these sound readings. I mean, you don't have a full scale of the impact of different processes of his operation?
That is correct. It's been just the operation of the vehicles themselves, the heavy equipment that's out there.
Okay.
When you do the testing, and I kind of compensated a little bit for that by being right there on and right next to the vehicles, whereas when you actually do, by state rules, the readings, you're supposed to be at the property line and hold it at your waist. And so in order to get those readings to reflect the state rules, I would have had to have been further back, which would have inherently reduced the sound levels. But I do have to say, yes, I only did the operation of the vehicles. There weren't any pieces on there to crush or do anything when I was up on the site doing it.
So is this operation considered a car crushing operation?
It's not a car crushing operation. It is a vehicle, it's kind of an enigma in its own. That's why we struggled with how do we identify this and in what category do we put it in, and that's why we put it in Section 10, or Article 10.03, which is, gives the county discretion to be able to process it as an interim use, and that gives the board, or the planning commission or the board of commissioners, the flexibility to put a time limit on a trial period. In many circumstances, when you have questionable or difficult operations, you do time periods, and we'll do it for a year, and these are your list of conditions, and come back in a year and renew it, and sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's not approved going forward. So that's why it was done under the provisions that it was for the interim type of use. Conditional uses run with the property. So we didn't want to do that.
So they don't crush cars there?
It's not. It's
I'm
not-
asking if they crush cars
Yeah, there's
there.
not a car crusher there.
Okay,
There's a piece of equipment that, from what I understand, I've never witnessed it.
you weren't
pushes
there
down
for that.
a portion of it.
You weren't there with your decibel thing for that.
Not for that, no, I already mentioned that.
The gist of my question on the decibel readings is, trying to see if there's a position on the property or condition that would address the neighbor's concerns and allow the business to continue. And I guess that's what I'm trying to get clear here.
I've got a second
The private,
follow-up question.
the
on this.
operation to continue, so clarification, the activity to continue, not the business.
Jerry?
Yeah, okay. I'm a little concerned about the noise levels at this point, because I don't think that we have really good enough data to make a complete conclusion on the noise. And I think it's important in a piece of property that is not commercial to have that, especially if we've got close-by neighbors. The second part I've got concerns the disassembly of these cars, in which you remove gas tanks and oil and all sorts of other things. So you've got chemicals and other hazardous liquids and stuff on the site. What is done to mitigate their penetration of the soils? What is done to remediate the potential for them to cause hazardous air pollution?
You care to answer that?
If I could, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hiddeker. A long time ago, very long time ago, when I was first getting here, only about 23 years ago or so, this came up in a different location. And the storage of vehicles or the processing of vehicles did come up as a concern, and we looked at the different facilities that we have. I mean, full-blown commercial facilities. Joe Sanders was Stan Nelson's junkyard over in Tofty, Wrecking J's, and then, of course, we have Brad Johnson's right here in town. None of those have the requirements in terms of impervious surfaces or containment systems or so. It's the process of doing it. They just have to ensure that they're not spilling the stuff. But in my conversations with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency at that time, they did indicate to me that, in doing the well checks around these facilities, the high-level commercial type facilities, there has been a single well that's been adversely impacted by the fluids that are getting out. And as a matter of fact, much like Skip Lambs have the petroleum contaminated soil composting site in Schroeder, if fluids are inadvertently spilled onto the ground, yes, we want that cleaned up. But as long as the soils remain aerated, anaerobic or aerobic, as long as they remain aerobic, the microbes actually consume that. So they have found that even in these, like I mentioned, the larger facilities such as the junkyards and Brad Johnson's, there hasn't been that level of contamination, although it's always a concern. You always want to make sure that you're concerned and covered in that process. But that's at least the conversation that I had with the Pollution Control Agency at that point. So, yeah, we don't have any even standards on the commercial levels of activities out there.
Okay, just to follow up with that, that adds to my concerns here, and that we're potentially dealing with something that we really don't even have a result on or an answer for, and we're talking about, I don't like the term precedent, but setting up something that I would not normally like to see in an area like that. I'll pass the mic.
Well, no, I just want to address what I thought I understood Tim just to say was that even in the larger operations, they have not documented contamination.
I understand that.
And they've monitored it, and I know Skip's operations monitoring.
Yeah, it does not alleviate that concern, because I'm
Right,
not
right,
sure
I'm
that
just-
we've got enough measurement to make that judgment on some of the things that we're dealing with. But that's not an exclusive problem.
I mean, just in scale.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
haven't seen an issue.
Yeah.
So,
Did you want to hear the applicant's response to hand
Oh,
on?
yeah, if he's got a comment on that, that's fine.
Do you have a comment
There
to,
isn't any pollution. What I do is I take the gas out, I put it in my pickup, and I reburn it. And I take the gas tank out, I cut the converter off, I don't drop any oil, and I don't drop any antifreeze. I've got dogs I run up there every day. I'm not gonna do that. I was born and raised in Maple Hill, I've got a hell of a lot more respect for Maple Hill than they do. And when it really comes down to it all, I have not done no recycling of any, I have not loaded one damn car up there since last October. And now you're hearing all the smoke, the banging, all this here, I have no beepers on my machines. What this is just a total bunch of BS.
okay?
I'm gonna go very far with this one.
Yeah. My question is you're not crushing,
No, I don't crush nothing.
you're loading them into a
What I
trailer?
do is I load them into a trailer. I have a 20-foot with 6 yards, a dump trailer. And I take 2 cars and I put it on and I add like a culvert or other stuff around it to make it heavy enough to worth hauling. That's all I do. And when I do that, I use a pulp loader.
Anyone else have any questions?
No, looking for a motion then?
Yep.
I move to deny the petition.
Is there a second to Jerry's?
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor of denying?
Aye.
I didn't say aye, I was gonna ask a question.
All opposed to Jerry's motion? Say aye. So we're split. Yes, Tim?
Mr. Chair, perhaps a resolution is, because it's clearly split vote, and we only have 4 people on, and the applicant did indicate his willingness to have a demonstration of the process on the property, would be a good opportunity to gauge not only the running of the vehicles, but an equipment, but also any of the loading noise and such like that, to be able to have the demonstration for you guys and be able to take those measurements. And if we table this to the next meeting, then we would probably have the 5th member of the board be able to help deliberate and make a majority decision.
Does that sound better to everybody?
I'm okay with that. Is the applicant
Are
okay with that?
you okay with tabling this till next?
I've already waited 10 months. One more month ain't gonna make any difference.
Okay.
But the one thing I do have, I gotta tell you guys, there's a lot of people in Cook County that do the same thing as I do, right in their backyards. And it's right on the road, right next to us. And it's just like with Ann, you know, I tried to talk to her. You guys ruled against me before you never even talked to me. You just went over my back. I asked you, I invited you to the property to take a look, and you declined it. You can go up to your yard, you got a junk car right in your driveway.
Okay, I'm sorry, but we're not considering anybody else's petition here.
Well, you
I'm
brought me into this here when you got Aaron Smith right down the road. That's
We're not denying your permit either. It was 2-2. We need more information. We'd like to see a demonstration, which you said you do.
If you guys want it, come on up.
Tim, can you arrange that for us to?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we'll table this then.
I'll go along with tabling it.
Do we have to take a vote on tabling?
Yes.
Is it possible to say one more thing?
We closed it for right now.
Okay, Mr. Chair, since my last motion failed, I will make a motion to table this for further consideration next month.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Vote
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we'll have, Tim, you'll contact him and set that up for us? Okay. Sounds good. So next new business, the MCIT Land Use Training, September 14th, 2022.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. We do have notice, and I had emailed that out to you all for an opportunity again for the land use legal training. This is one, we've had the attorney come up and do it. We've had our own county attorney provide training. This is another opportunity in another type of venue that has other counties that are involved in it and more than just the one land use attorney. So it actually strongly encourage everybody to attend. We are going to have to push the meeting off. That is correct, right? Yeah, the next month. But yes, we are going to have to postpone the regular meeting. And we found that this room is not available that next week, so it would have to be the following week. So the 28th is when this next meeting would be for you guys. But I've only heard back from a few people in terms of whether they do want to attend, so please contact us and let us know, because we have to get those registrations in.
And, okay, so that's it. So, any motions to adjourn then?
But let me add too, Mr. Chair, that if it does help, the mileage costs are allowed, and also the night stay down in St. Cloud the night before.
Okay.
Everybody in one room.
Have a party.
Stay at Bastions.
St. Cloud's a long ways away.
So then,
I would motion to adjourn if we're finished.
Okay.
okay, meeting's adjourned.
Okay, my turn. Hopefully I can. A little more here. I will now call to order the meeting of the Board of Adjustment for August 10th, 2022. And would like a motion to approve the minute and agenda for tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda and minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, first issue, Jane Hyman's. Okay, I hope I'm close on that. We have a variance request for relief from Cook County zoning ordinance number 37, section 4.07C, to place a 10 by 16 accessory structure at a reduced side yard setback where a minimum of 25 feet is required within the FAR 3 zone district. BID 52-408-1460, file reference number 2022-14V. Niva.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant, Jane Humans, is requesting to replace the existing 4x8 accessory structure with a new 10 by 16 accessory structure. The new accessory structure is proposed to be placed where the existing shed is located. However, the expansion is proposed to further encroach on the side yard setback. The existing accessory structure is approximately 5 feet from the side yard line. The proposed accessory structure would be about 3 feet from the side yard line. The 0.42 acre parcel is approximately 100 feet wide and has an existing cabin and driveway with an outhouse. The structure setback requirements for the FAR 3 zone district are 25 feet side yard and 50-foot rear yard setback. This significantly limits the buildable area on the property without variance relief. For ordinance citations, I've included the accessory structure placement criteria, where accessory structures less than 161 square feet are allowed, provided that they meet required setbacks. Additionally, because this is a substandard lot, the criteria of section 9.03 applies, which allows an accessory structure when it meets minimum setback requirements. For background, the lot was created in 1969 and therefore is a legal non-conforming lot of record. Currently, the property has a cabin, an outhouse, and the 4x8 accessory structure that is proposed to be replaced. No variances have been requested on the lot to date. Surrounding uses around this lot include large tracts of forested private land to the east and south, and commercial uses on the west and the Gunflint Trail on the north. For site conditions and considerations, an outhouse is present on site. For impervious surface coverage, a staff analysis showed that the proposed square footage of the development will meet the impervious surface coverage requirements for substandard lots outlined in section 9.03H of the Cook County zoning ordinance. There are no wetlands within the proposed development area and no significant slopes present to impact the proposed variance. For public noticing, the application was legally noticed in the Cook County News Herald on July 15th. 27 letters of notification were sent to adjacent property owners, as well as county departments and the DNR hydrologist. No comments were received in land services at the time of the comment deadline. We did receive one comment after the comment deadline that wasn't included in the packet. Staff recommendations for consideration. Conforming development on this lot is limited primarily due to the lot size and the zoning requirements, which are 25 feet side yard setbacks and a 50-foot rear yard setback. This lot has been in existence since 1969 and was created prior to current zoning regulations. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Neva. First, we'll open the floor to Jane. If you would come up to the microphone up here, state your name and address, and you may add any comments to the application that you think might have been missed.
Okay, my name is Jane Hemans, and my address is 8637 Harrison Road in Bloomington. And this is 7565 Gunflint, which I purchased in 2016. It was an abandoned cabin, and I've been repairing it. And basically what I need is, it's getting hard to keep track of all the tools. There's crap all over. If I could get this shed, it would be awesome, because I could put a table saw in there instead of in the cabin, and I could continue to maintain the property. I know when you look at this piece here, you can't see everything, but that is such a wonderful location, because I can, you know, I would like to pull out lawn furniture and put it around the fireplace, and the part that comes down from Gunflint, that car parking, it'd be difficult to put it there and try to get it in bounds, because if somebody brings like a scamp or whatever, bam, it goes right there in front of the shed and you can't get stuff out. And then on the other side where you see I have 24, you know, a lot of people, they'll buy a cabin because they have a beautiful view of a lake. Well, here I have a beautiful view of the woods. So if I put a shed there, I'm looking at a roof now, but I'd still have to get distance from that, so that I have a workspace, and I still need a variance with that, but it would be an ugly spot. And my dream is to get a beautiful shed. I don't know if you guys can see the pictures of what I have. The one I'd have would be beautiful, match the cabin, and just really maintain that property to just make it pretty and attractive. And the shed would match the cabin. So, gosh, got any questions? It's kind of, the storage would definitely, I got to tell you, if you went on that property, I'm afraid if somebody looks, they could just pick up my paddle board, my canoes. I could slide them all in here. I could get it perfect and lock it up. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Anybody on the board have any questions at this point? Okay. I love your enthusiasm. Thank you for this, liking what you're presenting to us. At this point, is there anybody else in the room from the public or anybody else that would like to make a comment on this? Would you come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record?
My name is Mary Indritz. We have 7529 Gunflint Trail, so we're two sides of Jane's property. My husband bought this property in 1995. No, he met it in 1992. And he's been maintaining it extensively as mostly a moose habitat. So we walk this gravel road, and we've maintained the pathways over to the other side to Little Ollie Lake and leave salt licks out, and it's really our oasis. So we've watched Jane improve the property, and we knew Barb Johnson, the previous owner, and we're grateful that she wants to tear down the old shed because it's horrendous. We just don't see a reason to put it within the setback because it would cause us then to have to worry about if there's a fire there, it would catch our woods because we don't cut that side because it's not anywhere close to our cabin, and how that would impact habitat and how to do it and all that. So we believe that there is space within the setback, and so we are objecting to having her shed placed within the setback.
Okay. Anybody else? Did I see motion back there? Anybody else have any concerns? None? Okay, we'll close the discussion to the public at this point and bring it to the board. Let's start out with the far end there. Opinions.
I've been up there, and I think she's doing a good idea. I would approve it.
Okay?
I'd like what she's done up there.
All right. Anybody else?
I do have
Charlie.
a question, on the neighboring property, that would be encroaching on the property line. Is that public land? Is that Forest Service, or what's the ownership of that?
That's Mrs.
So that's your side, is that side that, so we'd be reducing by 2 feet, okay. Okay. That was my question at the moment. This is, I mean, definitely think a shed is warranted, so.
Okay. Anybody else? Adam?
I mean, from what I've looked at this, because I haven't visited the property, but from everything we have, it looks like this, putting it where she proposed would be less clear and like moving of topsoil and stuff to like then tear this down and then prep a new site. I mean, it makes kind of sense to me.
Okay. Okay. I tend to lean toward that, but I would be willing to open this up to a motion at this point.
I would like her to be able to work with her neighbor, but if it's not possible, I would still approve it. I think it's really secluded in there, and I don't think it'd be a problem. And you really want to bring looks like what you've got laid out there, you're bringing it closer to your existing cabin from the back, right?
Like the shed closer?
Yeah, the
It
front
would
of
be a
it.
little closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it would be a lot closer now when I think about those pictures that are in there.
Yeah. Well, you had it marked out in the 2x4s around the thing, and I'm assuming that's what you were planning on doing.
Exactly, that's exactly what
don't
I
have
was
any
trying to
problem
do
with
is.
it at all. I think it's a great idea.
I guess the one is concern is, I mean, we're already at a 5 foot from the property line with the existing building, and we're proposing to go to 3 foot. And I mean, we're only talking about 2 feet. Can you just shift the new building 2 feet closer and at least maintain the 5 foot setback that you
Take a look
have
at
from the
that
line?
picture.
If you could work with your neighbor, it'd be really, really good, I think.
I can move it more, but I don't want to hit that edge of that rear exit. I can move it, I'll move it. Would that work for you if I did, I'll put it 5 feet from these poles right here, I'll measure it, and it'll be exactly 5 feet. And I'll get rid of that ugly shed.
Well, the rear exit doesn't go anywhere except onto our property, so you could move it
That's,
into that space.
that's true. You know, the only reason I really like that rear exit is
I
I
just
had a
tried
tree
it.
fall here, and if I
Stayed in the same
had him in
spot.
there,
There is a variance.
She's not changing it.
Yeah.
She's just making it bigger in front of what she actually has there.
It looks like she won't have to cut any trees down or anything.
She's not hardly touching anything, nothing.
I'm
Said
good
I've been
with it.
up
I'm
there,
good
and
with it either way.
I've been up there, and she's doing a really nice job on that place.
Where at is, where,
Yeah.
I think I know where this is.
I wish I had gone with a site.
Mr. Chair?
It's right on Gunflint.
Mr. Chair? Point of order? It would be nice if we had one discussion happening for our meeting record, and we have a side conversation. and a side
Yeah, they have a private conversation going right now.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm back. We're
If
back.
they have a resolution, we'll ask for that, but right now, we're actually discussing them on the board. But are we ready to hear from the applicant? Okay, you're back on the floor.
Yeah, I'll move it over more. I'll move it over a little more. I won't, it'll be more, I'll move it close to 3 feet. And I'll remeasure this, I'll measure it out. And I'll get rid of the ugly shed. And what I put up there will be pleasing to the eye. It'll be very nice. So what you'll be looking at when you drive will be,
All right, yeah,
I'm
keep
back.
the conversation to us for now. Because we'll make the decision, she won't. Any other discussion on this, or do you want to put a motion out there?
Well, we'd have to set the new setback.
And
I guess what, maybe I'm oversimplifying in my own mind. What I was proposing was to allow the shed, just maintain the existing 5-foot setback from the property line. And then allow the expansion of the shed, as long as she can maintain that. Does that?
Okay, so it's a motion?
I would motion to approve with that amendment to maintain the 5-foot
Okay.
setback from the property.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the issue? Hearing none, I'll assume we're ready to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Done. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, item B. Robert Ilg? Okay, thank you. Variance request from relief from Cook County zoning ordinance number 37. Same thing. Section 7.05, different section. To place an accessory structure at a reduced high water level setback from Hungry Jack Lake where a minimum of 100 feet is required. Property identification number 52-404-1320, file reference number 2022-15V. Neva.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant, Mr. Robert Illick, is requesting relief from the shoreline setback standards to replace the existing 11 by 15 accessory structure with a new 15 by 22 accessory structure, 85.5 feet from the vegetation line of Hungry Jack Lake. Currently, the accessory structure includes laundry, storage, and recycling/refuse, and is placed 84.5 feet from the vegetation line of Hungry Jack Lake. The new structure would serve those same purposes in addition to a space for exercise and seasonal storage. The existing accessory structure is built into the hillside. The application explains that about 8 feet of extractable workable soil is present behind the structure where the expansion is proposed. The proposed reconstruction will place the new accessory structure 12 inches further from the lake than the current structure, and therefore will not further encroach on the lake setback. The lake classification for Hungry Jack Lake is a recreational development lake with a 100-foot structure setback from the ordinary high water level. For background, this property has been in the Ilk family since 1952. There are 2 residential structures on the parcel. The Ilk house is the easternmost structure, and the cabin is the westernmost structure. The accessory structure inland behind the cabin is the focus of this request. Additionally, there is a garage on the property on the south side of Bundy Trail. Like other properties along the Bundy Trail shoreline, variances have been required for structural improvements. The average structural shoreline setback of 7 adjacent properties is 36 feet, and modifications to 4 of those structures have been facilitated through variances, typically from the shoreline setback. Records indicate 3 variances have been approved to date on this property. In 2001, 2011, and 2015, all of those were structure setbacks from the lake for improvements and additions onto the existing cabin and house. For site conditions and considerations, the property is sloped with a rocky forested landscape. No wetlands would be impacted as a result of this proposed development. There are no issues with impervious surface coverage. Utilities, including septic hookup and electric, are already in place for the existing structure and will be available for the new structure in this location. For public noticing, the application was legally noticed in the Cook County News Herald on July 15th. 10 letters of notification were sent to adjacent property owners, as well as county departments and the Minnesota DNR hydrologist. Comments have been received from one adjacent property owner and the Cook County Soil and Water Conservation District. Property owners Barb and John Botker support the request with a condition. They would like the structure not to be used as a garage and would like the property owners to keep construction equipment off the neighboring property. There were more comments in their comment letters, so that is included in here, obviously. For staff recommendations for consideration, if approved, the following condition may be attached to this variance request. Property shall conform with Minnesota Rule 7080 and Cook County septic requirements, and the structure shall not be used for living or sleeping quarters or habitation.
Thank you. Is Robert or any representative? Right here. Okay, would you care to step up to the microphone if you have any further comments? Identify yourself.
I'm Robert Ilg. My address up here is 57 Bun Trail and on Hungry Jack Lake. And our request is to replace the existing roughly 1948-50 structure that was a his and her outhouse and REI utility, and we need to make it present use a little more functional in its design of a new structure is what we're looking. We are going to widen the existing structure as it requires to 15 feet in width from 11.5. And then we're far enough back with the 100-foot setback that when we go from 15-foot depth to 22-foot, that we, use land use there just for that space. So trying to minimize our footprint, but yet make it a utility area where we have our laundry and accessory area, and then to utilize some of that new structure for exercise or free area. So. And that's our request today.
Okay. Is there anybody else that wishes to have any comment on the matter? Hearing none, I will close the comments to the floor and pull it back to the board and ask for your opinions.
I like what he's doing in that area. I would approve it.
Okay, that's short. Charlie?
I think it looks like a reasonable expansion and request, and I like the two proposed conditions for it.
Okay. Ed?
I think it seems reasonable and sounds like the neighbors are okay with it as long as they honor their small requests.
Okay. Anybody have a motion?
Motion to approve with two conditions, 1 and 2, as written in the staff.
Okay, we have a motion to approve it with the conditions as stated. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It has been seconded as well. Is there any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none, also we're ready to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You're on your own.
Great, thanks.
Okay, number C, Donald Kopp. Variance request for relief from Cook County zoning ordinance number 37, popular, section 705, popular, to place a principal structure home with attached garage at a reduced ordinary high water level setback from Poplar Lake, where a minimum of 100 feet is required. Property identification 52-460-0090, file reference number 2022, have trouble with that one, -16V. Neva.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The applicant, Donald Kopp, is requesting relief from the shoreline setback requirements of Poplar Lake to place a principal structure, which would be a 3-bedroom home with attached garage on the property at 71 Fireplace Road. The structure would encroach 24 feet on the 100-foot lake setback requirement. The 3-bedroom home would be a 1,568 square foot with a 1,196 square foot attached garage. A mound septic system will also be installed on the east side of the property by the existing driveway. The setback from Poplar Lake is a 100-foot building setback since it's classified as recreational development. For background, currently this property is primarily undeveloped. A driveway was installed within the last year, and site prep has begun in preparation of the house and garage placement. Initial plans for development had the structures being placed in conformity with the 100-foot setback requirement. However, it was determined this spring that the wetlands on site are white cedar wetlands. White cedar wetlands are classified by the Minnesota DNR as a rare natural plant community, which have special restrictions in place. Most neighboring properties along this area of Fireplace Road have structures within the 100-foot setback. See map on page 9 for a summary of that. For site conditions and considerations, the septic development plans have a septic system designed and permitted. The location of the septic tank and mound will be on the east and southeast side of the property. There is no issue with impervious surface coverage. For wetlands, the Wetland Conservation Act outlines specific conditions when a quote-unquote allowable amount of wetlands can be impacted or filled. This is called the de minimis amount. For most wetland types, the de minimis amount of impact is 400 square feet in shoreland areas. This would have been the de minimis amount for this site if the wetland type was not a cedar wetland plant community. For a white cedar wetland plant community, the de minimis is limited to 100 square feet of impact. The contractor for this project was familiar with the 400 square foot de minimis and had planned the project based on that fill amount. As explained in the variance application, the 400 square feet of fill would have allowed the development to proceed without the need for a variance. However, when the Cook County Wetland Specialist, Mitch Travis, visited the site, he identified the wetland type and informed the contractor that the 100 square foot de minimis would apply to this site. The alternative to the variance would be for the applicant to proceed with the Wetland Conservation Act replacement plan application, which would require approval to purchase wetland credits to offset proposed impacts to the wetland. It is unlikely that impacts to a white cedar wetland would be approved if other alternatives exist. White cedar wetlands have a high protection level because they are unique in that they are difficult to replace, and statewide their plant community is declining in population due to insufficient regeneration. For slope, the parcel has unique topography. The wetland areas in the southwestern side of the lot with a ledge rock outcropping between the wetlands and Poplar Lake. The proposed development lies within a type of saddle between the wetlands, ledge rock outcroppings, and the slope down to the lake. For public noticing, the application was legally noticed in the Cook County News Herald July 15th. 25 letters of notification were sent to adjacent property owners, as well as county departments and the DNR hydrologist. No comments have been received in Land Services at the time of this narrative preparation. I did ask Cook County Land Services Wetland Specialist, Mitch Travis, to provide a technical memo regarding the wetlands related to this variance request, and that is included in your packet. If approved, the following conditions may be attached to this variance request, and I've listed 4 potential best management practices that could mitigate this.
Thanks, Neva. Looks like you're all set to go. I'll open the floor to you right now, and you identify yourself and add what you have.
Donald Kopp, 71 Fireplace Road, hopefully. I'll refer to my contractor.
Tom Dwyer with Isaac Hansen's Lutzen. And the only thing I really want to add, just as a point of clarification, is we had an existing graded fill permit in place, which is why the driveway was in and some of the fill was beginning last summer and the spring, that we have a compliant graded fill permit in place. So we're not rushing the gate here.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll answer any questions as they come up otherwise.
All right, does anyone on the board
Speak
have
for you.
questions for Tom or Bob at this point?
How will wetlands impact the building of this structure?
Well, we're going to stay out of the wetland now completely by moving it forward toward the lake a little bit. The drip line of the roof should be up, but beyond the drip line of the white cedar wetland, the flagged off area. So, and then we're going to have a drainway beneath part of the house as part of the construction to allow, so water doesn't back up there as a result of damming by the building, would allow it to continue on through. last summer when he bought the property, we looked at it, it was stone dry. And
The lake was down.
the lake was down. And so when we looked at it, and then the spring, when the water started, when we got snow and got water moving, we could see where some of the water was coming in and where it would impact.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, no question, just to me, it appears that this is.
What's that?
Obviously, difficulties unique to the property.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
But how fun to have the white pine there, or white,
I love them.
See,
white cedar.
I love them.
Yeah, yeah, marvelous tree,
I
marvelous.
just met him.
Anybody else?
No, makes sense.
Motion is in order then.
I would motion to approve with the 4 recommended conditions as written.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve it with the 4 conditions. You're comfortable with the 4 conditions, I presume, then? Okay.
I am, yes.
I am too.
Thank you, thank you. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll assume we're ready to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You're in business.
Thank you.
Next item is next item. What do I hear from,
Motion to adjourn?
okay? Tim, go ahead.
Okay, we don't need to be in the meeting for
Okay.
this particular item.
Yeah, I made a motion to adjourn.
The motion to adjourn takes precedence, doesn't require discussion. Is it all in favor signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Okay. Tim?